You will never watch porn again after watching this video. I want you to imagine you see the most beautiful girl and you want to go speak to her, but instantly you get hit with anxiety, insecurities, negative racing thoughts, and you don't go and do it. So yet again, you miss an opportunity to develop a healthy relationship in real life, and instead you go back to Pornhub and waste your life away. Watching porn is one of the most detrimental things that you can do for your mental health and ruining the relationships that you'll have in real life with girls. But after this video, I'm gonna teach you how you can stop once and for all. I remember the first time I discovered porn, my cousin showed it to me and I must have been about 11 or 12 years old. I thought it was this new exciting thing, but I was too scared to do it on my own, so I'd wait until someone else would bring it up or show it to me to actually watch it. But over the course of a year from that point, I started watching it on a daily basis. So by the time I was 13 years old, I was watching it every single day, and this continued on until I was 18 years old. I didn't realize how bad it was because everyone around me was always doing it. All my entire friend group was watching it. All the people I knew was watching it. We would sometimes joke about our favorite porn stars or whatever, and no one really was telling me how bad this truly was, and I never understood the detriments it was having to me. Taking into consideration, this whole time I was terrified to talk to girls. I barely had any relationships at this point, and I didn't understand that there was a correlation between the two. And it wasn't until I tried to stop and get onto NoFap once I was around 18 years old that I realized how much of a problem it actually was, because I'd only go a couple days before relapsing and then going back to doing it every single day. The best times were maybe a week or so, occasionally maybe 1 or 2 weeks, but then always coming back to it as a daily habit and never being able to really let go of it for the long run. So this is where I was starting out, doing it basically every single day, having built up this bad habit for years and years, not realizing how bad it actually was. The first time I ever succeeded with NoFap for over 8 months was when I was 19 years old and I had just gotten broken up with and was at the lowest point in my life. I was feeling so bad and was desperate for answers, and this is when I discovered self-improvement, and NoFap was one of the core ingredients of self-improvement, and I went all in and I dedicated my entire life to self-improvement, reading books, meditating, journaling, and NoFap was one of the key things that I believed in that was going to help me build my confidence, be able to talk to girls, be able to start living the life of my dreams, and that's exactly what it did. So during this entire self-development phase of my life, I was doing a lot of these holistic self-improvement things like meditation, reading, and journaling. And what I didn't realize was that all these areas were becoming a part of my identity and who I saw myself as. So even if, for example, let's say I was reading every single day and I missed it for a day or two, I end up coming back to reading because that's what I do. That's who I see myself as, is a reader. I'm always trying to gain new knowledge with self-improvement books. And it is the same exact thing with NoFap. So I went 8 months straight, not watching porn a single time, not fapping once, but I did eventually relapse and mess up at that certain point. But what happened after that? Did I start going back to it every single day? No, I was seeing myself as a no-fapper. So although I did mess up that one time, I reverted back to my identity of being a no-fapper and then resuming the habit. And as I have slipped up over the last 3 years from when I built that original habit, I now have the identity of a no-fapper. So it's not that, you're never gonna mess up. It's never that you're never gonna slip up. It's just that now, when you do, you're gonna revert back to the original new identity that you've associated with of being a no-fapper. And it's that same example for, like, let's say meditation. I meditate every single day, but if for whatever reason, if I was traveling and I wasn't able to meditate for 3 days because things were crazy and I was in airports or whatever the situation was, then I would just resume meditation once I was able to. And it's the same thing with NoFap. You don't have to be 100% perfect, but as long as you can create the identity, which is gonna be the hardest step, but that's what I'm gonna show you how to do in this video, then you'll be able to automatically assume that sort of behavior, the behavior in alignment with what a person would do who has that sort of identity. So I'm gonna give you a bunch of steps that are gonna really help you build the identity that you want to be a no-fapper the right way, and you can have the most long-term success with NoFap, reducing it as much as possible to ideally 0 or just once in a while, and then you come back to the new identity of being a NoFapper, and it's not something you're doing on a daily basis anymore. So now, how do you actually build an identity that's going to be in alignment with your highest version of yourself and the goals that you actually set for yourself before you revert back to the old ways? So the first and key step is you're going to need to figure out what is the new identity you want to assume in the first place. And I'm going to give it to you. That's going to be, I am a no-fapper. I do not watch porn. That's the highest version of yourself. That is what you're going to want to be doing, right? So that is the identity that you're going to assume. Now, you probably don't believe that. That's the issue. It's like you say this and it's like, oh, well, I watched porn 20 minutes ago. This doesn't make sense. And I hear you. So this is what we're going to do in order to ingrain that identity into your being, into the deepest parts of your subconscious, so you can just naturally accept it. So what you're going to want to first do is prove it to yourself with small wins. And you can progressively overload this if you need to. Any sort of progress that you make in the right direction is going to be good. So if you can just start out with stopping porn completely, even if you still were jerking off, that's progress. Obviously, the best case scenario is you don't do both. But if you're in a bad situation, then starting somewhere, starting small, is going to allow you to build up the small wins. And the more small wins that you build up, the more you're going to believe in this new identity, that it's possible, that you can be this person. And from there, there's other things too. So what are you going to want to do in terms of making this habit a lot easier is remove the cues that cause you to do this habit in the first place. So curating your environment to make it easier. So what are some of the things that mess you up? I don't know, maybe social media. So social media, you're probably going to want to delete it. I remember I didn't even delete social media when I first did my holistic self-improvement about 3 years ago for this reason. I just deleted social media because I knew it was bad. But I didn't have social media during this time, so I didn't have that place to get those cues from that would make me triggered and want to do something like this. So beyond that, the only place where I would find these cues was Safari, because that's the only other place, you'd go to, at least I did. That's what I would do. And as long as I had the discipline to not go to Safari and search these things, then I didn't have any physical porn or anything like that in my environment that I was seeing and triggering me. So I didn't have any triggers making me want to do that bad habit in the first place. So curating your environment is the key step to starting trying to get this positive momentum going. And then proving it to yourself with the wins that you start building up is going to be the next key step to actually ingraining that identity. Now, the next trick is going to be using habit tracking. So a lot of people are against this, saying counting streaks and all this stuff, but I think it is a positive thing that you can use to build the identity, because they say it takes about 21 days to build a habit and about 90 to build a lifestyle. So if you can go for 21 days, habit tracking, checking off every day that you don't watch porn and you don't jerk off, you're gonna start believing this identity. Whereas if you were to just, leave it out there in the air, you're like, oh, I don't even know how long it was. If it was just like 3 days, I didn't really make any progress, whatever, I'm just gonna go back to it. So here, if you just check it off, it also gives you a little form of gratification. You're like, oh yes, I'm making progress. You see this progress getting checked off every single day, and you got a week, 2 weeks, and before you know it, you got all this time behind you to build that identity. And then after a certain point, you're not gonna need to do this anymore because that's who you are. And then a pro tip is you can build an affirmation system in with this. So you can write down every single day the new identity that you want. So you can say, I'm grateful for being a no-fapper and not watching porn, right? You write that down. And then you can write a reason for it and a reason against watching porn. So a reason for doing no-fap, a reason against watching porn. And it's gonna further the belief and the identity. You really need to brainwash yourself to accept this new identity. That is the key to the method that I'm teaching you, is really just doing anything you can to get your subconscious to believe that this is the new thing that you need to do. It is do or die type of thing. And if you can get your subconscious to believe this identity, it's just gonna act out automatically. And watching porn isn't gonna be something that you're gonna wanna do. And the last step, and this is going to be super, super helpful, probably the reason why I succeeded in the first place 3 years ago, was because of meditation. See, meditation builds the skill of awareness, focus, concentration, and it also allows you to practice letting go of thoughts and just releasing them. So you have this stream of conscious where you have either automatic thoughts, things that just pop up into your mind, or willful thoughts, the thoughts that you generate yourself. And when you get an automatic thought that's a triggering thought causing you to want to watch porn, you might just automatically act on it. But once you start meditating, you're gonna realize that you can let go of that thought, that thought is not who you are as a person, and you can decide to not identify with it, take a deep breath, and let it go. That is gonna help you so much. So if you read some books on spirituality like The Untethered Soul, it's going to teach you a lot about letting go, or The Power of Now, of just living in the present moment. Read some of these books when you start your journey. Start meditating every single day and building that skill of awareness and concentration and letting go of those automatic thoughts from your old identity. This is going to be the pro tip to building the new identity quicker than ever and not having to deal with all those struggles of really needing to make it such a difficult process. It's going to be so much easier if you can allow yourself to let go of those negative, unwanted thoughts that are causing you to do the bad habit in the first place. So this is the full guide to never watching porn again, or at least building an identity that's going to allow you to not do it on a consistent daily basis. And if it is an infrequent slip up, so be it. At least you have an identity that is 10 times better than the previous one you had, and you're doing it 10 times less. So that is the goal for this video. And if this provided you with any value, please like and subscribe. On this channel, I'll be teaching you how to life max and get better in every single aspect of your life. So if that sounds of interest, hit that subscribe button. See you guys in the next video.